Alright, good morning. Today is the 13th of February, 25, about 9:26 in the morning Eastern Time. So, we're going to cover some things regarding breakthroughs. So, as myself, and the Heavenly Host are coming to more of a realization that, there's a lot of fish that are just too icky to be healed. And so a lot of beings, right, they will not be moving upward in their existence. A lot of them, though, one of our solves is going to be putting them back into the cycle. But the good news, I guess, for a lot of those folks is they won't be coming back into this. Let's use kind of the fish tank example. So when a lot of you die, you'll essentially be reincarnated into a different epoch. So for you people, carry on about your business. Turn this off, go find something to do, go spend the remaining bits of your life doing whatever the hell it is you want to do. For those that's not their path, and for those that genuinely want to, become a part of the Heavenly Host, you want to be into the realms, you want to be assistants of the heavenly beings, myself, my angels, and essentially the powers to be. Let's say that's you. Well, we need to have a breakthrough, because I know some of you have that desire in your heart, but you don't have any real teacher as far as someone who can actually help you with those breakthroughs, right? You don't need some Haitian shaman who you're giving $2,000 for, hallucinatory drugs and stuff like that. That's a no-no. Let's not do that. I'm not saying the use of hallucinatory drugs is prohibited. I'm saying that you're not going to get it you're not going to get the right results using that type of setting or scene, right? So this is basically steps to purify yourself to a point where you can get a spirit. And getting a spirit is kind of like now having two cars. So you have your body, your flesh body down here, and then you would have your light body upstairs. And when I'm saying then you have a spirit and the access has been granted to you by me, you will have two existences. So in a very fleshy type of way, it would be equivalent to living here on Earth, also having your light body living on a different planet. And then you can transfer, much like you wake up in the morning, if you have a 2-car garage and you have 2 cars, Monday you want to drive this one, and then the next day you want to drive the other one. So it's that kind of thing. And some of you that may be, ankle deep in the water may have experienced astral travel, may have experienced even the ability to manifest small things, disruptions in, electric currents when you're highly emotional or fueled by something of an emotional component. So I'm going to try to kind of break it down into spoonfuls for those folks. So first off, we're going to start where you want to empty your mind, your heart, your vessel. Even if you have to sit in complete silence, which is recommended. A black room in pure silence, and every voice, every thought that comes to you, dismiss it. And if the mind requires you to focus on something, because if you go into pure black darkness and silence, the human syndrome is almost like an addiction to something. right? It's why people will shift behaviors. They're constantly going to be like the bee, right? Like the worker bee. He's constantly moving, right? Well, he's in purpose. The human being is constantly moving, but out of purpose. So you want to try to be your worst critic. You want to be almost mean to yourself about your critiques. Before we get there, you want to be awe-inspired and marvel at creation. You want to see its perfection and then meditate on the feeling it gives you. So you're trying to remove all the fake mankind bullcrap. Whatever society is, doesn't matter. Whatever money is, doesn't matter. Whatever your essence is, doesn't matter. But look at something that has no beginning or end due to the works of man, but absolutely are the works of the Almighty. Why the nature is really important, because when you can get in tune with creation and you can witness it on a very deep level, even if you've went through your blackout, right? You've went through your inventory, and then your next step is you're going to want to make that connection with something of creation and study it. So don't study it like in a book. What's the mankind's word for butterfly? Like, that's stupid. That's going back the wrong way. With your own understanding, observe the lizard. Why does he sit the way he sits? Why does he crawl the way he crawls? How does he crawl the way he crawls? Why does he look the way he looks? Why does the bird take flight in the air versus the fish that swims? The fish is just as content as the bird, but if the bird could never fly, it would be hell to the bird, and if the fish could never swim, it would be hell to the fish. Thus, purpose. And mankind, working the purposes of other men, and the purposes of government, and the purposes of a civilization that proceeded before it was ready. See, that's something that none of you guys even understand. If every creation you see fits neatly into its purpose, what would have happened if we were to have rushed the bee being created? It could have destabilized the entire creation. It was required to have the amount of time it needed to grow. Mankind are half-baked. You guys did not have the proper culling period as a species that was desired, because a lot of the transgressions that mankind still does in a very immature way should have been worked out before a soul or a spirit was ever introduced into the equation. Because that way, we wouldn't be losing a consciousness. We wouldn't be losing an actual person, right? We would then have been just losing soulless humanoids while the creation was continuing to bake, while it was getting more firm. So, instead of having the perfection, again, you guys were corrupted by beings of light, beings not from here, beings who are in the realms and in heaven, right? The fallen angels. They took up creation that was not fully baked, And by having sex with them, they birthed beings that now had souls, which then takes them off of the species list and then puts them in a gardener role. Well, a gardener role is a role of the gods. It's a role of me and others like me in their own respective purposes and time and place. Mankind is driven by fear, is driven by darkness. You're very much afraid of your own shadows. You need something to constantly fight to put your aggression towards, thus usually other man. You have an ego that requires you to be right. You have a mouth that requires you to speak, but you don't have a brain capable enough to actually work any purposes for the being in which you are in. Therefore, most if not all, aside from myself and very few, the earth is overran, overpopulated by abominations. You guys are a 12-year-old driving a Ferrari, and the best you guys can do is put stickers on the headlights, piss on the front seat, and, you know, inhale the exhaust fumes because you don't even know what you're doing with it. But other humans would gather around and look at your stickers and you inhaling the fumes, and they say, "Oh my gosh, you're so cool, bro. I want to go and suck the fumes too." Like, that's how genuinely it looks from when I'm seeing things. All right, so you want to make that connection into creation because you want to establish something outside of your own self and ego that exists. Creation exists because you can walk on it, you can touch it. If that's not convincing enough, go play with a raccoon and get bit. Like, you know, whatever you have to do, right, to get that connection in nature, go kick a grizzly bear. He'll wake you up real quick. So that's step one, right? You want to be all inspired, but you also want to have that healthy fear of who made it. Because if you can look at nature and all of creation, but not as an individual entity, but that something created it, and as I've said, the bear is in purpose, which is why he's not kicking down doors, you know, going into your house, eating you, right? Eating all your groceries, which is why you don't have birds trying to dress up like ants and ants dressing up like birds. See, that's what humans do, though. You know? Everyone tries to pretend to be something because they don't even know what they are. So, a part of your breakthrough is you're going to have to figure that out. And a lot of people don't, right? They genuinely don't. They don't know. They don't know what they don't know, but they also don't care just in general, right? Because if the human being is corrupted, it's like if I were making laptops and I said, okay, you know, I'm talking to the angels. I'm like, all right, angels, I've got 250 million laptops I'm working on. The software's not quite right yet. There's a few challenges that I have, but we can go ahead and ground test the hardware to see how the hardware holds up to these conditions. And then my co-parts are saying, well, yeah, let's just go ahead and do the whole thing. No, let's not do that, you know, because I want to be able to have the breathing room to say, I need to recall those units, and then I need to actually add the proper software that's going to align with the environmental factors. Well, what would happen if someone got a little too ahead of themselves and they took all 250 million of my laptops anyway, took them out of my computer room and started putting them in action, and went against what I said, disagreed with my timing, and just like, you know, the apple, eat the apple, you're gonna die. It's too early. It's too early to become sentient. And impatient children of heaven who were in heaven as eternal beings basically wanted to have that breakout moment. You know, they wanted to have that they could do it moment, you know. And a lot of you, right, you know, again, you worship Jesus because you can. You worship an idol because you can. You blaspheme my name because I allow it for a little bit. You're hanging out on my earth, making stupid, pointless videos, doing everything but what I say to do. And that's fine. All of you are going to be dealt with here very, very soon. You have my word. You have my word. I will be dealing with all of it. And again, most of you, right, you're just going to be collected and put up into a heavenly storage unit. And I'll employ a lot of these human personalities when the timing is right. You guys are not the wiser, because it would be, in some aspects, billions of years between then and now. So that's a long time to sleep. But if you know what sleep is like, the moment you close your eyes, you're basically awake. You don't really endure the 8 hours or 10 hours you're sleeping. That's how this will be. So, trying to get those, to get a spirit so I can secure you, so then when I move forward with my plans, I'll have help. I'll have hands. I'll have beings to do it with. And hopefully ones I don't despise, and hopefully ones that can get along with me well. That would be nice. So, when you're in your meditative state, begin searching your heart. Start putting columns of you either being a good fit to the scene or what makes you not a good fit. So, what qualities make you a good fit? Match those with a piece of nature or creation. So, for example, let's say you're in your meditative state and you're breaking away, right? Some people would call that dissociation or dematerializing or deconstruction. So the problem with deconstruction is a lot of fallen angels are teaching this, but they're teaching it the wrong way because they themselves are a corrupted being. So how is a computer with a virus going to clean another computer who has the same virus? You can't, right? That'd be like your doctor having the flu and the doctor's putting their fingers up your nose and they're sneezing all in the room and then they're trying to heal you. Like, the sick can't heal the sick. So, what qualities makes you a good fit for creation, or what qualities make you a bad fit for creation? Are you a shallow person? Do you look at things to see what it can bring you? Do you look at the world that what can the world do for you? Or do you look at the world what you can do for it? Do you, on things in the micro and the macro, do you see how you're going to come out on top and win? Or do you see how you can put another on top so they can win? Do you strive to be the first one to put food on your plate, or do you strive to make sure you can put those others ahead of you in line? And if you don't get to even get a plate because you're the last of the line, does it burn you up, or does it still make you feel better? Because if anyone had to miss the meal, who better than you? Who better to make that sacrifice? If you were driving down the road and it was 20 degrees outside, you had a nice jacket, a shirt, a pair of pants, you're only a mile away from home, and you see somebody on the road who's wearing shorts, doesn't even have shoes. What kind of person are you? Do you drive by and make a judgment? Do you maybe give them $5? What's $5 going to do? Is that going to get him a pair of pants at 10 o'clock at night? Do you direct them in place of a shelter? Do you try to just push the person off onto someone else to make yourself feel better? Or do you say, hell with it? What size are you? You're 33? Hey, me too. I'm going to give you my pants. What size are your shoes? 10? I'm an 11. You can make it work. Well, really, I'm a 10. But I'm saying, at what level are you truly self-sacrificing? And at what level are you truly righteous? You're walking through the park. Somebody else's kid you don't know across the other side of the park falls down and scrapes a knee. Do you keep walking your dog and just, well, somebody will get it, or that's somebody's kid, they should get him? Or do you feel prompted to go over to that child where you don't see adult supervision, you see a hurt child, a fellow being in need of something? Do you go into the situation reluctantly? If you do, like, well, let me go check it out, let me go see, or does your heart beat to the point where you're like, I just need to go make sure he's okay or she's okay? Like, if there's a scrape knee, whatever, right? You have that inner voice of authority that commands you to righteousness. Or do you not? It's not a hard way to decipher. It's only hard to the individual that is sick with the demon seed. A computer can't see its own virus. And even when it does, it's still going to make every futile attempt to run the programs like the virus doesn't exist. But we all know the virus does exist. Again, that's humans with the Jesus thing. Because I tell you what, if we were to remove language of man right now, Tower of Babel stuff, if I was to remove the language of man again, and I just went upstairs and right click, eliminate all material right now. So you guys know computers so well. Imagine that. Imagine I can go in there and I highlight the whole earth. What is Yahweh going to do? I'm going to delete all your houses, all your mansions, all your money systems, all your electronics. I'll delete everything. One day you're in a house. The next day you're going to be sitting in the field where there's no roads, no sidewalks, no parks, no buildings, no fast food, nothing. As if the planet Earth was just literally a clean slate. What are you going to do? Not going to go to work. There is no work. I'm not going to go inside and watch TV because it doesn't exist anymore. What are you as a human being going to do in an all-natural creation from that point forward? I'll tell you what you do. Now those people that you shunned and you couldn't stand to be around now become your ally. The creation that you walked past every day now becomes a necessity, because if not, you'll starve and die. You won't have to worry about understanding where you're wrong and where you're right, because you're going to have so much time on your hands that you'll be able to do a solid house cleaning every day. And for the lucky, those who are alone, you'll only have your inner voice and then hope for another one to show up, either my voice or an angel's voice. So what are traits that prevent someone's ascension or someone's getting a spirit? Are you shallow? Are you a shallow person? You take things surface level. You're easily entertained by thoughtless things, right? So again, you understand, hopefully, the difference between a shallow person or a deep person. Do you feel shallow? You see a death on TV? I don't give a shit. Or do you, gosh, that must be really hard for that person to have gone through that? Are you a shallow person that, when you're passing a judgment on something, you're looking how it smells, how it looks, like, are you all flesh-based? Or do you look into people, places, and things on a deeper level, a more intimate level, to gain a deeper insight into things? This is self-diagnosis, by the way. So you can self-diagnose and you can see pretty clearly what side of that fence you're on. And then that's also the direction you're going to go. So shallow people, they're not going to the realms, because again, these are all requirements, because these are all directly dependent upon the purposes that await the individual above. So I'm keeping this teaching neutral. This is just fact and truth. Non-curious people don't ascend to the realms. They don't do well up there. A lot of human beings have lost a natural and healthy curiosity. They feel that the world is maybe at one time was a jigsaw puzzle, but modern man's put it all together. Like, all mysteries are essentially solved. Alright. So, if you could understand it from this way, being upstairs gives one perspective, but you can only gain the intel required by having boots on the ground, aka me, and knowing all the things of the world that sickens humanity, right? And again, ensuring that the sins of the angels, the sins of man, all the sins don't have a reoccurrence. So it's like you having the flu and then having that reoccurrence. So how do I ensure there's no reoccurrences? Is that whenever I, computers, query, move, right? Bulk move. So when I go to bulk move, I'm going to ensure I don't have people that are shallow. I want people that have depth. I don't want people that are non-curious, people that are easily entertained and accepting of, whatever lie they're fed. They just willingly eat it. They go with it. I need people that are curious, because that's how I build creation, and with the input of others. I don't need someone who's arrogant. What good are you that, people that think they're right when almost all the time they're wrong, but even if someone is right, they're arrogant about it. They only want to be right because they want to shove it in someone's face. You're not mine. I want someone who has no ego. Someone that's like, okay, I studied it this way, or I did this, and this is what I think. And then, for example, send the angels out on a mission to do this, and they come back. They never, the report is never, I'm 100% certain about that, because there's nothing 100% certain. That is reality, right? And then it is subjected to truth, which is a common truth. And that's where the angels would come back and say, okay, you sent us out to do this. Here's what we found. And they do it in not a position of authority or even a position of confidence. They do it in a position of, you wanted the deliverables, here are the deliverables. We're going to trust you to do with whatever it is you do with the information or the material we brought you, right? Selfishness versus self-sacrificing. Most everybody is very self-seeking, right? You wake up in the morning, what do I want? What do I need? What do I, right? From what you eat, to where you go, to how you dress, to how you speak, to your money, lots of that. Because understand that none of what you see within the creation is on purpose, is through me. None of it. It's all by the works of mankind's hands. Religion, material. Because whenever I go to open ground on New Earth, I'm not going to hand someone a Catholic Bible. I'm not going to hand anyone a Bible. I'm going to hand down the 10 commandments on stone to the leader of one people, and that people I will bless and train them to be good stewards of an earth. And as long as they stick with me, and they will have no choice, right? Just like the sheep in the pen rely on the farmer to put food out there twice a day and move them from pasture to pasture based on different factors and elements. That's going to be the new people of earth. And you can't have selfishness, right? When we're talking about that people, they won't even know what war is. It won't exist. There will not be ingrained any blueprints into that new creation that have, and there's no blueprints for war. It's not something that's natural to the human being. And, you know, are you a liar or are you honest? Most human beings are liars, just with some degrees of truth that they believe in. That's another thing, right? When you have a being that can convince itself of a false truth, then it's essentially hopeless. Like, that's the computer that refuses to acknowledge that they have a virus. The computer, you know. Are you a greedy person, right? Or are you a charitable person? You know? But again, all these are connected, right? You're the kind of person that's like, okay, well, as long as I'm good, as long as number one is good, I got my shoes on my feet, my shirt on my back, my car in my carport, my money in the bank, my vacation paid for, my bills are paid. After you go through that massive list of your shallow, non-curious, arrogant, selfish, lying, greedy, material, lack of concern for others, and pursuance of man's glory, rarely does anyone get out of themselves to even be charitable. You're so busy trying to be charitable to yourself. You know? Because in the new earth, one of the highest honors is being able to give something away. The highest honor is being able to find a fellow person who doesn't already have something. And you thinking, oh man, you know, this person doesn't have this. You know, I'm going to go surprise him with this. Like, he could really use it. You are sitting there thinking about the concern of another person over your own hungry belly or your own, you know, hurt feet, because you're brought to life by the service unto another. You know, people that have their mind constantly on things that do not matter or materialize. So, you know, thinking about the stores, the shoes, the cars, what mankind would say for this, what mankind wouldn't say for that. Hold on, I gotta get my dog. Okay. So, this is kind of like the time period, I guess. You know, you got so many people's opinions and so many different shades of bullshit. When, at the end of the day, none of that's gonna matter. Like, none of it's gonna matter. You know, it's like packing your suitcase with everything that you're not gonna need for where you're gonna go. And ultimately, the more you're packing because you think you need it, actually becomes more of a burden when you get to your destination. Imagine if I said, I want you to pack all the good qualities of you, and I want you to unpack all the bad ones. And we're not judging qualities based on the human mind. You're basing qualities based on me. And so many people would still take that, and if we're using a spiritual / physical interpretation, If I said, okay, Lizard, we're going to use that for a person's name because I don't like using names too much. I think it makes people feel a certain way. So we'll just say the person's name's Lizard. I'm looking at a Lizard. So, Lizard, we're going to go on a trip. And Lizard goes, okay, all right, I'm packing, packing clothes, shorts, socks, shoes. I'm going to pack a toaster, people like the Beverly Hillbillies, right? You got shit stacked on your car. Only to know the destination we're talking about is actually going to be scuba diving, going down underwater and scuba diving to a lost city. So all that stuff that you're bringing, can't take it down there with you. Now that you've brought it all with you, you can't just leave it on the shore either. Now you're going to have to deal with it before you're able to put on your scuba suit and come down here. So now everything the person thought that they were doing right by their carnal mind, they just essentially screwed themselves because they still tried to use their own mind. That's what I mean on so many levels and so many layers. I really could care less about 99% of all this junk. I don't even really care who or what you think I am. Because at the end of the day, my will is going to continue and carry on post mankind, post the earth, post all your bullshit. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to ever look back and wonder about the football game. I'm never going to look back and wonder, this house, that house, this tree, this person, this problem, none of it. None of it. But instead, I will look back and I will lament on things as an architect. What designs were pleasing to me? What things did I desire for a pure and righteous cause, and was I able to obtain them? And if I was it to my satisfaction? So, kind of in summary, and then we'll do a teaching today, but in summary, you want to get into that meditative state and you want to kind of come to that rationale and reason that remove the impurities, remove the fakeness, deconstruct. And then as you're building up, if you want to have the mindset of, okay, I'm still created, even though I'm a flawed creation, but I'm being given an opportunity by a higher being that can not only create realities, create planets, but also has the blueprints for a better living reality. And as an individual, right, you should be meditating. What do I want as a person? Do I want to continue an existence? And am I prepared to accept that existence no matter what it looks like? Do I have trust and confidence in the Creator? Because I can't deny creation. That's the reason creation should be your starting point, because you cannot deny it. You can deny me in the flesh. You can deny the names. I don't really give a shit. You guys go around in circles. If my name was Leaf, I would tell you my name is Leaf. But again, to play the human drama, to play the human narrative, we go by this name thing. That's what I mean, though. It's stupidness. It'd be like a daycare, Kids are perpetually in a daycare. Bobo the Clown came, in kindergarten, and then Bobo the Clown came in 3rd grade, and then Bobo the Clown came in 5th grade. And then the kids are like, whoa, Bobo last time,
he had 3 little red balls on his jumpsuit. He only has 2 little balls on his jumpsuit. He's not Bobo the Clown. Well, as an adult, you would be able to be like, well, sweetie, you know, Bobo the Clown, right? He's the same clown. He comes every couple of years. Like, he does this for you guys. Like, that's not a hard concept to get with human beings when it comes to Bobo the Clown. But it is an absolute drool face when we're talking about anything of depth. Anything of a serious nature that matters. You know, the creator comes around, he's working through a man by the name, the same name he works through a man every time. You know? And again, it's like pattern, like it's the same problem every time. Like mankind is, they're all like, oh, wait a minute, let me get my checklist. Hold on. Okay. This is what Bobo's supposed to look like. This is what okay, Bobo's supposed to do a trick. So these fucking false teachers, right? They're like, okay, class, we're looking for Bobo to do this. Okay, we're looking for Bobo in the bird trick. Bobo in the bird trick. Well, Bobo was done with his his scene, and the head kid in the classroom goes, okay, class, it wasn't Bobo. He only had 2 out of 3 buttons on his shirt. He did not do the dove trick. Does everyone hear me? He did not do the dove trick. It's also not Bobo, because Bobo had red shoes last time. This guy has blue shoes. So class, you know, sorry, we don't have Bobo. And then Bobo punches the kid in the face, goes out to his work van, lights a Marlboro, and says, kiss my ass. Point I'm making, you all are getting in your own way. And for what reason, right? If you're trying to just stay within this time domain and this creation, that's fine. You're going to go down with it. If you're trying to get out of the creation before I hit the detonate button, then you should really listen to what I'm telling you. Again, mankind thinks they're hot shit, and they're not, right? Like, they're really not. Like, you guys are way more destructive than the dinosaurs ever could have been. Like, I kick my own self in the ass. We really should have stuck with that theme versus this. Like, who wants to give up T-Rex for taxes? I mean, you call me perfect. I'm not perfect, obviously, because we would have still had T-Rex. Like, that's what I mean. But I try to make a bunch of mini-me's to help me in the process of creation, to help with, you know, doing things that have never been done before on a cosmic level. And what do I get? You know, like I hired a cabinet maker and he's only good for putting together the cabinets pre-made from Lowe's. Like, so you're not a cabinet maker, you're actually you're a cabinet assembler. And thus as humans, you know, we're a believer in God. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. You know, that's what I mean. You guys are all frauds. Like, you really are. Like, as a species, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. You're little devils in vessels. And you all are so impure, so unsound, and so defiled by just everything that there really is, like, no coming back. So, but anyway, in long short, you want to be able to set yourself, you know, be very critical of yourself. You want to deconstruct that, and then as you're building it, you want to say, if you want to move up, you want to say, hey, I want to be a part of this bigger picture. I want to be a part of that bigger plan. I'm willing to sacrifice whatever I need to make that path clear for my creator to come in and do his thing. Right? That's the heart you need, because that's the kind of heart that can get a spirit. And then I have to see, you know, so many times people say, well, you know, I changed for 2 weeks and you didn't give me a pat on the head, so I reverted back to what I do best. You know, that kind of heart that's not going to jive either, because you should be aware enough to know that the positive changes you're making are not only for me, the bigger picture, but they are actually assisting you on your track upwards, right? Because at the measure in which you can perform and show me here will be virtually equal to that of which and how I will treat you upstairs. So if I've given you a lot and you've done nothing upstairs, I'm going to make damn sure you get nothing, and you're going to figure out how to make do with it. So this is what I mean. For those who already have a spirit and you've reneged on our deal, that's not looking good for you guys. It's really not. It's not looking good for you guys. You know, and it really depends on how well are you able to get on stage, act the role I've given you, and stop trying to rewrite my own play. Like, stop. If I tell you this is the name, that's the end of it. There's no argument. But if you want to argue with me, that's fine. Again, you're going to argue to the grave. And then guess what? You'll come right back through a vaginal canal, and you will have fragmented memories of something, but you'll never be able to put your finger on it, right? You might call that like an old soul, right? And then you will go through another human campaign until you can get it right. And if you don't get it right, there you go. Then you can get some of those awards that we give out at the end where it's like, you know, who had the most campaigns, who learned the less. I mean, it's pretty bad if someone has to go on campaigns and they get to learn nothing or 1-2 things, but the whole time they think they're doing themselves services by being a lazy person in spirit and lazy in all ways, because they don't want to put in the work because they can't see anything other than what's around them. That's the rat in a maze. You know, the rat in a maze could only understand the cheese at the end of the maze. The rat is not capable of understanding that if he was to be taken out of the maze, there's as much cheese as he wants, so much to the point that it doesn't matter anymore. Like, the cheese no longer becomes a goal because it's like, oh, for real? Like, I thought this was the last piece of cheese in the world. Like, I was going after it, you know? And then the rat's taken out, and he's like, oh, so everybody's just got cheese everywhere? Like, cheese ain't a thing? No, cheese ain't a thing. It's how it is with money. It's how it is with jobs. It's how it is with everything. Like, it's very primitive. Your purpose in creation, your purpose that was given to you, should further exceed all of it, but it doesn't. So, good luck on transcending. You know, I don't think it's going to do any good, to be honest. But, you know, maybe if it helps one person, then I guess it was worth it. So, maybe I'll do a teaching later. Maybe not. Maybe I'll take a nap. Maybe I'll go home and never come back. I really don't know. We'll see how today goes.